Newcastle 1, Arsenal nil, title race, mash-up, season in the balance, and one of the worst performances I've seen in years as an Arsenal fan. 0 shots on target, no positives to cling to. Defensively, we look shaky. Attack was non-existent. Midfield battle, we totally lost it. What do you take out of that game as a football fan? Like, what positives can you look at? You know, we're just over 5 years into this process, and nothing is happening at the moment. The football looks to have gone backwards. Last season we scored 91 goals. Our defence was solid. We looked like we were building in the right direction. A lacklustre transfer window, to say the least. In fact, I would say it was a shocking transfer window in terms of players in. Players out wasn't too bad, getting 30 mil for Eddie and that, but Marino doesn't look good at the moment. Maybe in time he's a good player, but this system doesn't help. Sterling's past his best. And then you got Calafiori who's out injured. So what we didn't do was capitalise on another title race by going into the window, strengthening the squad and going again properly this season. So this is a byproduct of what the Kroenkes chose to do or not to do in the summer by not putting their money where their mouth is. We had a pretty much an even window in terms of net spend. We spent what we made. How was that ever going to work against Manchester City? And if it was, you needed to buy real quality. We look like we've signed players that are probably squad players rather than players that can go into the starting 11. Let's look at today's game, man. The whole team looked dysfunctional. If one player has a bad game, you can go, yo, him individually wasn't at it. But collectively, Arsenal have not been good for a lot of this season. Wolves had a big spell in the game. Leicester scored 2 goals. Southampton took the lead. City came back into it. Liverpool came back into it. Shakhtar, they nearly equalised at the end. We lost to Bournemouth, drew with Brighton. This has been there. We've seen it. We've seen this performance week after week where we struggle to create chances. Yeah, Odegaard's injury will play a big part. He's a creative spark. But what about the other players? Havertz not scoring enough goals. He's not a striker. He's not good enough to lead Arsenal to a league title. We need a prolific striker like Gyökeres, like Isak, who we saw on the pitch today for Newcastle. We needed a better midfielder. Bruno Guimaraes, another player that we could have signed. Look how well he played today. Look at what happens when you have direct wingers who are given a licence to run at their fullbacks like Gordon did today. Saka was on the halfway line most of the game. Martinelli struggling. Trossard had an absolute shocker. Stella R. Trossard, I joke about it, but he is actually playing like he's drunk. It's wild. And now, even the back four, which was the foundation for us to build from, even that is struggling now. Timber had his worst performance in an Arsenal shirt. Gordon caused him all sorts of problems today. And I'm looking at Saliba and I'm looking at Saka and I'm thinking, the looks on your faces are the looks that I saw from Fabregas, from Van Persie, from Alexis Sanchez, where you start to get to a point where you think, I'm performing, but he's not performing, and he's not performing, and he's not. And I can't carry this team by myself. So it's going to lead to problems further down the line. I think we all know Real Madrid are lurking in the background for Saliba. And I'm sure clubs will be looking at Saka because there aren't that many top quality right wingers. There has to be question marks over the manager. You know, I'm at the stage now where I've given up on the manager. I don't think he's good enough. Now, don't get me wrong, there's 3 trophies. He could win a Carabao Cup. He could win an FA Cup. I doubt we win the Champions League, but we got to go for it. Even the Premier League mathematically, but it's not happening. You can't just switch it on and off from week to week. And I just think for the amount of time, the amount of money that he's spent, the amount of support that he's had, what you can't then do is go backwards. You've pushed us forwards. You've reached a point, 2 second place finishers. Now it feels as if we're going to go backwards. Since he's been at this club, we have not had one successful striker. He came into a club that had a golden boot winning Aubameyang, a Lacazette that had won player of the season, and they both just completely faded under his stewardship. Jesus came in, started well, injured, then faded. Eddie Nketiah wasn't good enough. Havertz isn't the answer up front. Since he's been at the club, he's only actually signed 3 attacking players on permanent deals in terms of the front 3. Willian, who was a disaster. Trossard, who is a decent squad player but not good enough when he starts. And Gabriel Jesus. Havertz, of course, was signed to play in midfield, didn't work, and he pushed him forward. Sterling on loan. So why, within that 700 plus million, have we not addressed this attack properly by going to sign someone? Why didn't we buy a striker in the summer? Why did we think Havertz and Jesus was going to be enough? The football is dreadful to watch. It's dreadful. People joke and say Mikel Pulis. It feels like you're watching a team like that. We get the ball out wide, we whip crosses in. We don't shoot from outside the area. Individual brilliance disappears. At home, we play a bit further forward. So you saw more from Saka last week. Away against good teams, we're sat back. We never look like scoring. Rice misses a sitter at the end. We should have drew, but it kind of summed up the afternoon. It felt like the team were going nowhere. And where do you go from here? You felt like after Bournemouth, okay, they beat Shakhtar. Liverpool, I felt we should have won, but at least we didn't lose. But then you have to beat Newcastle, and then you lose to Newcastle. Not even a draw. This is the place where Callum Wilson ended our top 4 hopes all them years ago. I ended up ripping the shirt. Last season we lost there, yet refereeing controversy. There was no bad refereeing today. There was no dodgy VAR decisions to hide behind. This was simply a dreadful performance from a team that has had so long, so much money, time and investment. You wonder where this team is going. We don't look ready to win the Prem. We don't look ready to win the Champions League. It doesn't look like the manager has a variety of systems and tactics to help us. We're so one-dimensional. We're so slow. It's so boring to watch. You know, George Graham 1-0 to the Arsenal, but at least Arsenal won trophies. To play boring football and not win is crazy. You've got to have one or the other. You want both, but you've got to at least have one of them winning football. Will they address it in the January transfer window? Will they spend big? I doubt it. It's the Kroenkes. When have they ever shown that ambition, especially in January? Today was a sad day for Arsenal Football Club. It wasn't even screaming and shouting. It was genuinely sad because it was like 5 years for this. 5 years for Bournemouth. And we knew Bournemouth performance wasn't good. The red card covered it up, you know, but it was still, we knew it was a bad performance before the red card. And the team aren't playing well. And are we simply, because Odegaard's injured, we can't operate? I don't buy into that because we beat Tottenham. We went to City and pushed them all the way, nearly won the game. So surely we can play without him, but some of these players, now you can maybe see why the Saudis, you know, maybe Arsenal should have taken the money from the Saudis for Trossard. But obviously the window was closed in England. We couldn't replace him. We need a left winger. Martinelli and Trossard are not good enough anymore. I think you sell one of them, keep one as a backup, and then put the new left winger in front of them. We need a new striker. So 2 of our front 3 need replacing. Saka is good enough, especially if you put more quality around him. Odegaard's good. Rice is good. Partey's playing well, but Partey-Rice balance isn't always great in midfield. And I think a lot of us saw this coming. When we said the transfer window was a 4, a 5, a 3, it was poor, lackluster, not good enough. Those signings don't push us to the next level. And now we're seeing the product of it. A City win would put us 8 points behind them, 7 points behind Liverpool if they were to win. We're under huge pressure. Inter Milan away midweek. Chelsea away next week. Feels like the wheels are falling off a little bit, but what do you guys think in the comments? Do you think we're still in the title race? Do you think the manager is good enough? Should he be moved on? The reality is he's not going to be moved on because he's just signed a 3-year deal on £15 million a season. So they would owe him over £40 million, £45 million pretty much to sack him. They're not going to do that. As long as they get top 4, I don't think the owners are that dissatisfied, you know? And that's the problem. The lack of direction, the lack of ambition. Is Edu good enough? Is Arteta good enough? Are the Kroenkes ambitious enough? You guys have got your answers. For me, I would say no to all 3. Sad day for Arsenal. It's only November and it already feels to me, I think if City or Liverpool win today, or if both of them win, the title race will be over. And that'll be that. Go and win a domestic cup and go as far as you can in the Champions League, which is not acceptable in November to have that thought process. We shouldn't be in this situation so early in the season. But the warning signs were there, people. Let me know what you think in the comments. Hit the like button, subscribe, get in the comments, man. What is going on with Arsenal Football Club? Take care. I'll see you all soon, people. Bless.